What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Weekly Watt for Friday, May 13th, 2022. I'm your host, Colin Jenkins, alongside my guest today, Crystal O'Keefe, the co-host of the extremely popular Peloton podcast, The Clip Out, and tonal podcast, The Superset. How's it going?
Great. How are you doing, Colin? Thank you so much for having me.
No, of course. I'm really excited for this, the Homecoming keynote event. As you know, there's usually something excited or some new stuff announced for sure during these events, especially during the keynotes. And so I wanted to have you on because one, there's probably not many people who know as much about Peloton and the history of Peloton or what's going on in Peloton as you. And two, I think, you've been around for a while within the Peloton community and can maybe share some insights into a lot of things, but also just around what Homecoming is. Because, I've been around Peloton for a little over a year, and I did kind of watch last year's digital Homecoming event. But you've been to like the actual ones when they used to have it in person, right?
Yes, yes, I have. It actually started in it was 2015 or 16 was the first one. I think it was 15. And
Wow.
it was actually started by a group of people who rode from home. It wasn't started by Peloton, it was started by actual riders. And I think it was like 20 or 25 people decided, hey, let's converge on the Peloton studio. Let's take a bunch of classes
Hmm.
together. And they called it the Home Rider Invasion. And so for several years, it was called HRI, Home Rider Invasion. Even Peloton
Okay.
called it that when they started sponsoring the event. And then eventually they flipped the name to Homecoming. So you will still hear OGs respond to or talk about it as HRI because that is what we know
Okay.
it as.
Yeah, no, interesting. I never heard that before. Interesting. And then, in terms of like these keynote type presentations where they typically announce some of the new stuff that's going on, is that fairly recent then too? Is that like something they've just started doing then maybe in the past year or two?
So, it's been a mixture. Back in 2017, it was basically John Foley doing a big speech talking about how far Peloton had come, talking about the instructors, things like that. 2018, that was the first year that I remember there being a big announcement. That was the year that they announced. I might be getting it mixed up with 18 and 19. It's a little fuzzy,
Mhm.
but that was the year that they announced high fives. And we were
Okay.
lucky enough to Tom, my husband Tom, and I, who co-host the podcast together, we
Mhm.
got to interview John Foley live on stage during that homecoming. My favorite memory of that event is before we went on stage with John. JV said to him, "Whatever you do, John, here's the clicker. Whatever you do not hit this button before we tell you to." And the first thing he did when we sat down was hit the button and everybody could see the high fives were coming like instantly. It was hilarious. And he
That's
did it on
funny.
accident. He's just such a sweet guy.
That's really funny. So it sounds like, it seems to me, and some of the thoughts around what's going to be revealed on this homecoming. One of the biggest ones that people are anticipating is the possibility of not necessarily announcing that Peloton Rower is going to be going for sale, but at least maybe some sort of teaser or announcement in that end. But I'm curious what your thoughts about that, if that you think that's going to be the case, because I don't think the Peloton Homecoming has ever been used to announce a new product before, right?
It has not. It has been used for new features.
Hmm.
Like last year, I know they talked about, hey, we're going to be introducing the pause button. So I think my guess is they're going to do it very similarly with the rower. It's going to be, hey, the rower is coming. I don't
Yeah.
think we're going to get to know very much about it. We might get to see some pictures, things like that, but we're not. My guess is we're not going to find out the price. We're not going to find out all the other details. It's just going to be, it exists. The rumors are true and it's happening.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, it's been a long time, right? So the Peloton rower. Oh, whoa. Let me mute this.
Oh, it's happening.
Whoa, hold up, hold up. Okay, let me mute this real quick. I didn't realize how loud that was gonna be. If there's even a way to mute it. Oh, okay. I think okay, we'll jump into that. That was really loud. So we'll go back into the homecoming thing. We'll just keep this on the screen. Oh, here we go. Here we go. It's hidden behind you. Okay. Let's play this and make sure it's lined up so that way we're on it live. Um Perfect. Okay, cool. So anyway, yeah, the rower will be really interesting to see them, how much they announce. I don't know. I'm really curious to have a sense of when they would be released. I feel like, it wouldn't really make that much sense to release a product at this time of the year anyway. I think typically most equipment like this is going to be released towards the end of the year, more towards like September, October, when summer's ended and people are gearing up for the home. And that's kind of when they've announced previous stuff, right? Or started selling previous new equipment like the tread and the bike, right?
The tread was announced in January, a
Okay.
year before it was officially released.
Oh wow.
Okay,
Okay.
so it didn't start shipping until fall of the next year, and fall ended up being at my house December 15th. It still fell technically in fall,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
it was definitely that last quarter. And the Bike Plus was also in the last quarter. It was released in
Hmm.
July of the year it was released. So I would agree that it makes sense. We're going to hear about it today, but we're going to not start seeing it go on sale until that third quarter. That's typically, and that also makes sense from a fiscal year standpoint, right? Because
Hmm.
they're going to be kind of ramping up a new year, so that makes sense for them too.
Yeah, no, I think that's definitely probably going to be the case. But I'm excited for it. I think it'll be interesting to see how or what their take is on rowing. Um, I mean, obviously, it'll obviously probably be very similar to their take on biking and on the tread, which is really great. And I think there was rumors of rowing boot camps and stuff like that, which I think Peloton's really leaning into the boot camp stuff now, which I think is personally, I don't know if you like boot camps or not, but I really like them. I think they're a really good option, and they offer a really kind of intriguing class option for an alternative for going back to people because people are fans of like Orange Theory or the other
Hmm.
types of classes, which typically go back and forth between a rower or a treadmill and some um, moderate, strength type training or cardio training. And to be able to do that at your home without having to travel and do all that stuff, I think it's a big deal. And I think that's kind of why they're pushing into really building out that boot camp because it seems like they're doing a lot with boot camps lately. Like they're adding
They
a lot of new
definitely
classes and types and options to that.
I think they're looking for ways to build strength in, and differentiate themselves from other makers of strength products, like Tonal. And so I think that they're really leaning into, see these free weights. This is great. This is why it's great. So I definitely agree. I do enjoy boot camps, although I like them because of how fast they make things go.
Mhm.
So if I do like a 45-minute boot camp, that feels incredibly easy. Easy might be the wrong word. It goes very quickly compared to a 45-minute endurance run. So I like how quickly it goes.
Nice. Yeah, they're not something I would take all the time, but
Right.
they're something I like to put in when I get a chance, like once a week, just having like a good kind of end of the week thing. So we're gonna get started here in really soon. Welcome to anybody who's just joining us. We're gonna go ahead and jump into watching this homecoming event, which is gonna start in about 30 seconds. We're gonna jump out of here and mute ourselves so everybody can just watch the keynote without any distractions, and then after the show, we'll jump back on and talk about what was announced. All right. So let's go ahead, make sure this thing's not too loud, and we'll get started.
we were on day one. And this year, we'll continue to bring you more exciting content and new features that I think you'll absolutely love. But before we talk about what's to come, let's take a moment to look back at all that we've accomplished together over the past year. We now have millions of Peloton members worldwide, and we continue to welcome more members every day. To keep up with this massive growth, we've added new discipline in boxing, as well as a bunch of new world-class instructors to our roster globally. In the US, we welcome new strength instructors, Brad Lopez and Callie Gullickson, new tread instructors, Daniel McKenna, Kirsten Ferguson, and Marcel Dinkins, and our very first Spanish-speaking cycling instructor, Camila Ramon. And now, I'm going to kick it over to Mila and Bradley in the UK.
Thank you so much. In the UK, on the tread, we welcome Jermaine Johnson, Susie Chan, Jocelyn Thompson-Rule, and John Hosking. In Germany, on the tread, Marcel Maurer, Jeffrey McEachern, and Tobias Heinze. On the bike, Mila Lazar, Charlotte Weidenbach, and Benny Adami. And to continue delivering on our promise to build a truly inclusive community, we welcome Peloton's first adaptive training consultant and future instructor, Logan Aldrich. Logan will help us empower our members and community with the right tools and resources to make every workout specialized to you. We often say, together we go far, and together means all of us. And I'm so proud of the work our team is doing. We can't wait to show you our adaptive programming.
Since 2018, Peloton has expanded internationally, and in 2021, we welcomed Australia into our global family. Australians are passionate about their health and well-being and have always had their finger on the pulse when it comes to fitness technology and experiences, which is why we are especially excited for Australia to join the Peloton community. Shout out to all my members of Australia. As many of you embark on summer travel, I wanted to fill you in on one of our best kept secrets, the Peloton Hotel Finder. In fact, over 1 million rides have taken place in nearly 2,000 hotels across the world. You can celebrate milestones or even fit in a quick sweat while you're on the road. Go to onepeloton.com where you can sort out your favorite hotel or resort and even book your stay directly. Now, wherever you go, Peloton is with you.
By the way, have you flown with Delta Airlines recently? If so, you might have come across Peloton's meditation and stretching classes, guided by our fantastic instructors on Delta Onboard Seatback Entertainment. This marked a major milestone for us. It was the first time that we offered Peloton content on the non-Peloton platform. How amazing is that? Together, wherever, to new heights. Back to our teammates across the pond.
Thank you, Mila and Bradley, and to new heights indeed. So, speaking of new things, I want to talk about what Peloton is doing to help make fitness more accessible to everyone as a benefit in the workplace. Many often forget that as instructors, we're Peloton employees too. We have back-to-back Zoom calls and still sneak out to the kitchen when we hear there's free lunch. But workplace benefits must go beyond free snacks, and just as Peloton prioritizes the physical and mental wellness of their employees, we launched Peloton Corporate Wellness, which allows organizations to provide Peloton as a benefit to ensure their team members are empowered to live healthier and happier lives. In addition, through a collaboration with United Healthcare, millions of members can activate a one-year membership to the Peloton app at no additional cost and may be eligible for preferred pricing on our connected fitness products. If you're a United Healthcare member tuning in today, please be sure to check your benefits to see if this exciting offer is available to you. Now, we can't talk about programming without taking a moment to celebrate the amazing things we were able to accomplish together last year. In 2021, we had over 13 billion minutes of workouts on the platform. Some of your favorites included Sundays with Love, the Jess King Experience, which returned for a third season, and Alex Toussaint's competition series, Ride to Greatness. We also launched our newest modality, Peloton Boxing, as a new way to get an incredible cardio workout with no equipment needed. Taught by Rad, Selena, Kendall, Bex, and Jermaine, we were inspired by all of you to make these knockout classes come to life. The team also brought you Dance Cardio Season 2 with classes and routines taught by talented artists and choreographers who work with top artists, including Beyonce and Usher himself. We even launched the Champions Collection, a curation of special training programs developed alongside elite athletes like Allison Felix and Usain Bolt. Speaking of programs, don't forget to check out Crush Your Core 2.0 with me. We also made sure to bring you even more of the music you love. We reinvented All for One and brought you our first ever music festival with 25 of your favorite artists. And it didn't stop there. We partnered with Spotify to launch a curated by Peloton shelf in the Spotify Workout Hub, which gets refreshed monthly with new playlists curated by your favorite instructors. If you haven't done so already, please follow Peloton and your favorite instructors on Spotify. In the last year alone, we introduced new artist series classes with some of the world's most iconic performers and premiered music from artists like ABBA, Eminem, Mary J. Blige, Spice Girls, and Taylor Swift. On top of that, Peloton debuted exclusive remixes of songs from David Bowie, Demi Lovato, and Debbie Gibson. There are now over 100+ artist series to experience. Don't forget to check all of them out in the collection area. The newest chapter in our Peloton and Beyonce Artist Series allowed us to expand on our social impact partnership by providing Peloton bikes in the fitness facilities of 10 historically Black colleges and universities. This initiative builds on Peloton and Beyonce's shared commitment to provide access to fitness, inspiring this generation of HBCU students to source their power physically and mentally through movement. Thousands of students were gifted Peloton app memberships at the onset of this partnership, ensuring that students have convenient access to fitness, whether they're on campus or beyond. That initiative was just a small part of the work we're doing to advance the Peloton Pledge. To learn more, please visit pledge.onepeloton.com. In February, Matt Wilpers and I played a role in the early development of Lanebreak. Lanebreak is our first step into gamified fitness for Peloton, which offers a deeply immersive cardio experience that combines animation, music, and reward incentives into a fun workout on the bike and Bike Plus. Lanebreak has already been proven to be a crowd favorite, and you can learn more about this feature in our new content experiences panel this weekend. Be on the lookout for more levels coming soon, and if you haven't given it a try yet, what are you waiting for? And we've got even more new happenings over here. In March, we were all very excited for the launch of our first ever podcast, Fitness Flipped, where we flip the script on all the things we think we know about fitness. Hosted by our very own Tunde Oyinayan, each week we tackle a different topic in the world of fitness and beyond to transform our own ideas about health, strength, mental wellness, and even ourselves. Every week, we release 2 episodes, including a deep dive where we hear from an expert and a notable personality, and an episode with a special member stories on the same topic. I'm lucky to be one of the honorary guests in the podcast, along with Sterling K. Brown, Allison Felix, Phoebe Robinson, Deezus Nice, Robin Arzone, Cody Rigsby, Jen Sherman, and many more. I know for me, I usually tune in while I'm getting some gardening done or when I'm on my way to the studio. Be sure to check out Fitness Flipped anywhere you get your podcasts or right on the Peloton app as an outdoor walk. The perfect way to listen and get some steps in at the same time. In April, we launched On the Leaderboard with Peloton, which is a video series streaming now on YouTube. Ever wonder how your favorite celebrities would fare on the Peloton leaderboard? If so, this one's for you. Check out episode 1 featuring Usain Bolt alongside Jess Sims on the Peloton tread, and episode 2 featuring Joe Jonas alongside Olivia Amato. And stay tuned for more episodes where guest stars get real about what it takes to show up and work out with a Peloton instructor. We'll be pushing these stars past their comfort zones with quick fire questions complemented with speed and incline. Because when Peloton gets personal, the leaderboard heats up quick. To watch and subscribe to future episodes, please head to Peloton's YouTube channel. Now, I'll pass it off to Chelsea and Tunde for some exciting updates on what's to come in 2022 and beyond.
And now, the moment you've all been waiting for. We've got so much for you to look forward to, and we believe that the best experience comes from a relentless focus on you, our members. Our team continues to improve your experience in innovative ways. We've got some pretty exciting stuff coming your way, and I wanted to share some of that with you today. The first new feature I want to share with you is Invite Friends, an easier way to invite, accept, and celebrate major workouts with your friends directly from your Peloton device. This top requested social feature makes it fun and easy to work out together. Whether it's a milestone or a birthday workout, Invite Friends now allows you to name your special occasion, invite, accept, and schedule workouts with friends all on Peloton. This new feature will help manage workouts with your schedule. Your schedule is now your one-stop shop for keeping track of upcoming group and solo workouts. And just like other social platforms, hosts can see their invitees' attendance status, while invitees can choose to accept or decline invitations. The next feature I wanted to share with you is Just Workout. Consistently a top requested feature, Just Workout is about to make it so much easier to track all of your workouts in one place. How? Just Workout unlocks the ability to track uninstructed workouts on the Peloton app and get credit for these activities. To start, Just Workout will allow you to track all your outdoor activities like running, cycling, and walking. But more activity types like indoor workouts are in the works as well. Why else are we excited about Just Workout? With Just Workout, you'll be able to listen to your own music from third-party apps like Spotify, track your location, see your route, connect your Apple Watch or heart rate monitor during your workouts. Plus, all of these activities will count towards your streaks, challenges, achievements, and more. And just in time for the summer months, Just Workout will be coming to the Peloton app very soon. Okay, so we've talked a lot about powering up to the next level and reaching your goals. But sometimes it can be just as important to clear your mind and step onto your mat. Are you with me? This 2-week program designed by Kira Michelle is the second installment of the new yoga program series, The Approach. Ross launched the first installment in February when he focused on power restorative yoga. In this next installment, Kira will guide you through the foundations of working towards an inversion. She will focus on proper technique, strength, mobility, conditioning work, and using a wall for balance. The program will set a strong foundation for anyone either looking to try inversions or someone interested in building upon their practice. Find out more this weekend in a live conversation with Kira. Now, over to you, Tunde.
What's up, Peloton? I am Tunde. My guess is that maybe, perhaps, we've probably taken an arms and lightweight class together. Now, my question for you, are you ready to level up your strength? Because I've got some awesome news. Join us on Guide to Embark on a New Journey into the world of strength training. I'll show you that you can lift those heavier weights and you'll feel the results. Train your arms and shoulders with me and grow your strength as you work through this 4-week program exclusively launching to Guide members first. The first 2 days of each week will focus on specific muscle groups, while day 3 is an assessment to see where you're at and combine the elements learned earlier in the week. Together, we're going to grow from a 10-minute to a 20-minute class by the end of our program. I can't wait to see you there. I'm so excited about it. Matt, over to you.
We know we have a lot of powers and riders tuning in with us today, and this announcement is for you. For those of you who may not be familiar, Power Zone training is a method of fitness training designed to have you working at 7 different levels or zones of exertion that are based on each rider's performance using a fitness test called a functional threshold power test, or FTP test, my favorite. If Power Zone training is entirely new to you, we recommend starting with the Discover Your Power Zones program on your bike. This will take you through a 4-week schedule of classes, culminating with the FTP test. You can do these with rest days or other classes in between as desired. Today, we are announcing a new program called Peak Your Power Zones. This 8-week program designed by your Power Zone instructors is truly the most advanced program we offer. It's designed to be a level up from the Build Your Power Zones program in order to help riders peak their FTPs. You'll have 3 training days and 4 rest days per week, and at the end of the 8 weeks, you'll get to retake your FTP test just to see how far you've come. We're always working to make the Peloton platform accessible to all of our members. In the last few years, we've added assistive technology like live subtitles and screen reader to help make our Bike and Bike Plus accessible to the blind and low vision communities. Coming soon, blind and low vision members will be able to navigate and access programming and metrics on the tread via Google's Talkback screen reader, and they'll also receive real-time feedback about their speed and incline changes. We're continuing our work with members of the accessibility advocacy community to develop an accessibility mode that will make the Peloton Tread a truly inclusive experience for all. Over to you, Adrian, for even more exciting news.
Hey, Peloton, it's Adrian Williams, and I'm so excited to be here with all of you. We see you showing up every day to bike, run, box, hit the mat for yoga, strength classes, and more. So we thought you should be the first to know that we are bringing you yet another way to work out. I can tell you what a game changer it'll be for your workout routine, but why don't I show you instead?
At Peloton, our global community is united by a spirit of togetherness. This summer, we're looking forward to being powered by this togetherness as we celebrate the opening of our brand new Peloton studios in New York and in London. For those of you who have been to the New York studio, you know what it's like to experience the energy of a driven and supportive community of your fellow members and your Peloton instructor in the room around you, inspiring you to go even harder. The reopening of our studio doors is an important milestone and one that we look forward to celebrating with you. Be on the lookout for more information in coming weeks. This summer, you can expect special classes that honor the spirit of togetherness. We'll wrap things up in August with our annual All for One Music Festival to close out the season strong. So stay tuned for the All for One Music Festival lineup coming soon.
Thanks, Matt. I'm so excited to have members working out with me in the studio again. As we wrap up, we want to take a moment to give a special shout out to some of you who have accomplished outstanding milestones in the last year. Members who worked out the most, representing the UK, Obi, representing Australia, YNS1, representing Canada, ES Marshall, and representing Germany, One Wolfhound Mom. And last but not least, representing the US, Tap, Tap, Tap It Back. Hey, I know you actually. Members who set the most high fives, Anastasia Spins. Top 3 members with the most tracks loved, Farron 27, Sierra A, and Red Queen 78. And the member who took the most artist series, Chief Pookie. The first member to try Lanebreak when it launched in February, Squiddy 17. Congrats to each and every one of you, and thank you for being a part of this special community. Now, let's get into all the ways to celebrate the Peloton community this weekend. Stop by your local Peloton showroom to get a limited edition homecoming pin, or you can shop our apparel sale at apparel.onepeloton.com. And don't forget to join us in the leaderboard to take live classes throughout the weekend. Robin will be doing a Together We Ride class this evening, followed by a live DJ run with Adrian. We also have amazing Fleetwood Mac artist series throughout the weekend. Check out our live schedule for more details. If you're looking to connect with other Peloton members, make sure to visit our member meet section where you can video chat one-on-one with other members. Find this feature in the navigation bar to the left of this video. You'll be randomly matched with another member for 3 minutes. And after that time, you can easily decide to leave early or extend your time if you find a connection that you particularly enjoy. Last but not least, be sure to check out our entire schedule of fun that we've got planned in celebration of this outstanding community. And don't forget to use the hashtag Peloton Homecoming to share your experience with us and the community on social media. Thanks again for joining us. For myself and everyone here at Peloton, we're grateful for you and couldn't be more excited for what's to come. Don't forget, feel good, look good, do better. One love, baby.
All right, we're back, and yeah, we got a lot to discuss. And there's a lot announced. And what do you think so far?
Well, I was getting a billion messages while we were
Yep.
muted, and the biggest thing that everyone is surprised about is that it wasn't live. All of it was pre-recorded and overly scripted. So I think that kind of comes from the OG community, that it's like, well, this is kind of frustrating because we've had all of these people in the past do this live. So I think for the people who've been around for a long time, it's kind of strange to see it overly scripted like this. On the other hand, you can tell that Peloton is definitely taking an page from Apple's book here, and this is exactly how their yearly announcements go. So That makes perfect sense to me. The other thing that people seem to be talking about is it was a 10-second intro for the rower. People were very surprised. All we got was 10 seconds. And we really didn't see any highlights of how it differentiates from any of the other competitors out there, which would have been nice for Homecoming. But I am glad to see that Adrian is going to be kind of the lead instructor on this. That makes perfect sense. And so that's pretty exciting. What stood out to you, Colin?
I mean, there was a lot there. Yeah, no, in terms of like the scripted, I think last year was similar, right? With it was all pre-recorded with mostly John Foley talking. You know, I don't think they could have done it any other way. I don't think Barry could have lasted. I mean, his pre-scripted best attempt looked like it was a struggle. So it's not like there was no other way they could have done it. But I am glad they didn't keep Barry on for too long and they kind of spread it out amongst the coaches. I think they did a much better job of being excited about what's going on and than Barry can muster. So I think that was a good choice for sure.
And I guess that makes sense. That's their job, right? Like they're used to entertaining us, so that makes sense.
Yeah, and there was a mix. I mean, I put down a list of all the new announcements, and what we can talk about all of them. I think there's a lot here that's kind of exciting. There's a lot announced that I think maybe is just like normal stuff that kind of happens with Peloton throughout. That just happens to be kind of this month's new thing. But I think there were some announcements that are pretty exciting that people will be really happy with. The first off, obviously, we got to talk about the rower. Now that rower, from what I could see, because I don't know, did you see like the leaked design that came out like a month ago or so?
Well, no one ever was sure that was actually Peloton's because there's the other makers out there that they make the rower for other in fact, I'm pretty sure over in the Run Lift Live group with John Mills that John Mills runs, they said that it was not the Peloton rower. I don't remember how they came to that conclusion.
I saw that too, and I kind of figured, okay, it wasn't that, but that rower that they showed there looked exactly like that design.
So they all kind of look the same.
Well, the reason I say that is because of the thin front. That's very unique for rowers. Typically, most of the stuff is in the front.
I think the Hydro looks like that too, though.
I don't know. Maybe again, it was such a short thing. It looked pretty thin to me, but it could have been. But I'm not sure. Obviously, I'm not sure.
The red details stood out to me. That was the one thing that like caught my eye that looked different. And I think it makes sense. We've been talking about this for a long time since the smaller tread was announced, but they have said since then that the screen used for that will be used for the rower. It looked to be about that size, so that makes sense. And I'm not sure. I think that there's going to be feedback and things like that. That what I've heard from people in the know is that there will be differentiators from this rower to other rowers. That it will be things that people are going to be very excited about. But I haven't been able to get to the details of exactly what that is because people are concerned about being found out. There's a very small group of people who know about it, so they don't want to reveal too much. But supposedly there are things that people are going to be very excited about waiting this long.
Yeah, no, I'm super curious about it. I think, with rowing, it's interesting because there's not, it's the first one that's really not hands-free in terms of equipment. So with a bike, you can tap, you can interact with the screen while you work out. Treadmill, it's harder, but it's like,
it can be done.
It's harder to high five people. You miss and high five random people, but it can be done. With the rower, it's like much harder because you're holding onto a handle while you're rowing. You can kind of like let it go, but that's sort of sketchy.
Your own risk about punching yourself in the face.
Exactly. And with rowing, if you add too much kind of special features, it sometimes makes it like a worse experience in terms of like what the rower is. And so my thought is maybe what kind of a differentiator, since what I think is the biggest differentiator for Peloton compared to anybody else is its social element. And I think, maybe there's a way to interact with the screen on the handle itself, or some other means to do that. But I'm curious what other differentiators there could be, because with rowing, it's so basic, but the basics has worked so well. So I'm curious of what innovation they've kind of been working on
I am
there.
curious as well. And I was told that something happened with the handles, that they had done something with the handles and they ended up having to scrap it and start over. And that was why it kind of took so long to come out. One of the reasons. So I think you're onto something with what they were trying to do. Don't know what they ended up doing.
Yeah, no, it was maybe that was a 3-year delay for that handle, I guess. It took a while to figure it out. But no, I'm really excited about it. And it was kind of like I thought. I thought it was gonna be a quick teaser. I thought it was gonna be short and just like a quick look, and that's kind of what it was. I wish we would have seen a little bit more.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, at least the thing I wanted to see really the most, to be honest, was to see how, like, one of the best things about having a rower, I think, for a home like fitness studio, is that usually there's a way to fold it up or shrink it down, so it takes up less floor space than any other piece of cardio equipment. And I'm very curious about how they're going about it, because there's a bunch of different ways these rowers kind of do that. And I was curious if this one folded up or what did. So I could not see that from there though. So
No,
we'll have to
I
wait.
didn't either. I was most curious to see the screen. Like, since they didn't show it, it makes me wonder if the interface is different than the bike and the tread, because to your point, it's a lot harder to interact with the screen when you're rowing. And two, the fact that they didn't show it makes me feel like something unique is on there.
Yeah, no, it could definitely be. So yeah, that was the biggest, kind of the shortest announcement, but probably the biggest one. And there was a bunch of others. So let's talk about some of those. Like, one was the invite friends feature. And so this feature, for anybody who missed out on seeing what that was, is it seems like it's basically a group, like on Facebook. You can create an event and invite people to an event and all that. So it seems like they're adding that feature to Peloton, where you can create a scheduled workout, invite your friends to it. They can accept or decline, and you can see who's like coming to that workout. And then all jump in together at that pre-select time.
Yeah. And
right?
I really like this feature. It is, as they alluded to, it's something people have been asking for a long time. I mean, since I started Peloton, there's been people asking for this.
Mhm.
And I really like that you could name the event and choose when you were taking the class, so you can show your friends, hey, this is for, Kiki's birthday, and, let's surprise her or whatever. You could put those details in. So that is fabulous, because it's nice to be able to share your milestones with friends, and it's a lot harder to do it now than it used to be. So this is a great way to increase the ability and make it super easy for people again.
Yeah, no, I think it's gonna be really popular. I think it's probably the most exciting thing that they announced, to be honest, because I think people will use it a lot. I can imagine, in the different groups for Peloton and Facebook groups and stuff, people are always trying to round people together, and now they just have to put out a link, or maybe, they know their friends by their hashtag. They can quickly just invite anybody to their big, right, whatever they want to do. Or I think again, because what makes Peloton stand out to me is the social element and how good that is on the platform. For them to continue to improve that, I think, is really good, and improve the way people can kind of connect with each other on that. I think it's really exciting that they
I also
announced
thought, I think another key piece of that was that they said that you're going to be able to use your schedule as a one-stop shop. So that's going to be great, because you're going to be able to see classes that you schedule for yourself, but you're also going to be able to see your group classes, things that you were invited to and you said yes to. So I'm glad to see that is finally getting some love, some attention, because it's been out there for a long time and it really hasn't been used to its full capability. So I'm glad to see that's finally happening.
Yeah, no, definitely. And so that was one thing. The next thing was, and this was kind of released to a few people yesterday, I think, was the new Jest workout, which allows you to basically, use any running or biking workout that you do outside, but have it count towards your Peloton milestones and have it track on Peloton itself.
Yeah, the first
Mhm.
thing I thought of was, "Oh, I can't wait to see the arguments that come from this about how people are tracking their workouts and how it's unfair."
Yeah.
But again, this has been a requested feature for a long time, and a lot of people will be very happy to use it to be able to get their dots, even if they take a ride outside. People have wanted to take a Peloton ride on their bike, on an outdoor bike forever, and this will allow people to finally be able to do that. So that's wonderful.
Yeah, no, I think it because with for me, like if you want to, if somebody who's just working out with Peloton, that's their way of tracking their workouts and all their milestones. And there's definitely times where you're not going to be on a Peloton, but you still would like to have that tracked. Not everybody uses like Strava or other third-party apps to collect. Like me, I have to like collect all these different things together, and it's difficult. I'd much rather in an ideal world, I could just use one platform like Peloton and just have it all count. But so I think it's a really good thing. I'm excited for it because I don't get the chance to use Peloton all the time just because I'm
Sure.
always testing out various other things. But I always try. I'm what's really bad about this for me is I'm a very much of a completionist, and it bothers me really badly not to get like all the different whatever badges and whatever. And the problem is all these different companies have the same thing kind of. So it's impossible at this point. But with Peloton, they do a better job with that, a lot of that, the badges and collect like stuff. So I always try to keep my streaks going.
Yeah.
And like last week or so the past couple weeks, had no time to be able to test Peloton stuff out. But I found a new thing. I don't know if anybody's ever noticed this before, because obviously to keep your weekly streak, you have to do something, right? And
Right,
so
right.
Sunday night, I was like, oh shit, I got to let me just pull up like the 5-minute meditation, whatever the newest
Yeah.
one is. And you know what? On that Sunday night, there was like hundreds of people in that class. So I feel like I'm not the only one doing that because I've never seen hundreds of people in a meditation. Like it wasn't like brand new. I feel like there's a
Yeah.
lot of people who do a 5-minute meditation on Sunday night to keep their streak.
Absolutely, absolutely. That is a key, and it's good, right? It still counts because you need to take recovery days. You need to be able to have a little bit of downtime, and so it still counts, and it's great that it does.
Yeah, no, it's definitely going to be good. I think, the arguments are obviously going to be, it's going to be much easier for people to accumulate
100 rides
or whatever their the minutes, what's the
the
15K,
15,000
20K
minutes, and
now
yeah.
minutes, that thing. Oh, like if somebody wants to just put it on anytime they walk, right? It'll be a much easier since they have that new walking feature. So I'm not sure if I'm like, I still think it's really good. I don't know if it should count towards all the milestones necessarily, because not that you couldn't abuse it anyway. People just, and moving on from that just real quickly, because I that brings me to another point, and I know you'll have kind of something interesting to say here. They had a really strange, speaking of like the most things you could do, they had the really strange member shout out towards the end where they shouted out like the top, whoever did the most workouts in each country, and whoever had the most high fives, which I know you can't be a fan of whoever is the one person who high fived the most people obsessively the
Huh?
entire year. So it just seemed that
They
was
weren't they
like,
weren't that's not the person that high fives me randomly, so I'm good with
no, well, that person
it.
high fives everybody all of the time.
Really?
Like it was really strange to me to shout out like not necessarily good behavior. Like whoever has the most workouts, probably not like, I have friends like you obviously have way more friends on Peloton. I have a shorter group of friends on Peloton. And even me, I'm like, whoa, some of these people work out like 10 workouts a day. I mean, given they're short, but it's and they're not probably even close to the most. So
Your point is that healthy behavior, is that sustainable? And I mean, it depends on the person. There are people that that they ride long rides on the weekends, or whatever. They have a lifestyle that supports it. But I agree with you. The average person probably does not need to take that many rides a day. And also they should be mixing up the kinds of modalities they use. Hopefully they're not just doing rides. Hopefully they're adding in some strength training and other things.
yeah, no, I just thought it was kind of a weird, just shout out thing at the end. I like that one guy's name that was like tap tap something whatever.
Mhm.
But it was just kind
tappity
of
back.
yeah. It was that was just stood out a little bit strange. So other things that were announced were some new programs. There was the new yoga program called the Approach. There's a new program with called the Arms with Tunde program, which I think is probably inspired by the Peloton community, just making their own programs with her. And also the one I'm excited about is the 8-week Peak Your Power Zones training program that Matt announced as well. The Tunde program is going to be guide first, so that's going to be probably exclusive to the guide for 7 weeks. Are you excited about any of those programs?
I don't tend to really get excited about the programs. I like the idea of them. I think they're great, but the fact that they're locked, it doesn't always work with my schedule. I kind of find that I'm doing so many different things similar to yourself. I'm not necessarily testing new equipment, but I like to vary my workouts that kind of being locked into something kind of makes me feel a little like too, like, I don't like that feeling. But I will say that people are absolutely going to be thrilled about taking another Power Zone programming. I think that they could release one of those every quarter, and that would be incredibly successful. People love them. And the Arms with Tunde has been very, very sought after. So I know that's going to be popular as well. One of the things I wanted to mention about the Just Work Out that I feel like people are going to also be excited about is the fact that you can listen to your own music. People have wanted to do that like forever. And so not only the streaks are going to be exciting, but being able to add your own Spotify music to whatever workout you're doing, I think people are going to really love that.
Yeah, no, I think that's definitely a good. I mean, it would be weird if like you had to listen to Peloton's playlist as you go for a run without a Peloton class going on. That would be kind of strange. But yeah, no, I think that's really good that they make sure that was a thing that app was going to allow. You know, one of the things I like the guide first thing I'm kind of interested in. You know, I don't know. Did you guys get a Peloton guide?
We did. Yeah. Peloton actually sent us one, which was very surprising. And I think shows that it's not selling well because they've never sent us anything free. So I feel like it just shows that it had kind of a weak start. And I think it's doing a lot better than expected now because they cut the price. And I think a lot of people are surprised how much they enjoy it.
I hear out a little bit.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Yeah. Sorry about that. I felt like my computer's just blowing up, but I think I can hear you. Now what's weird. Yeah, sorry about that. The my mouse and headphones died all at once, which is really strange. And keyboard. Okay, but you can hear me.
I can hear you just fine.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if the guide's doing well or not. I have mixed thoughts on the guide. I think, Peloton has a really good design philosophy across all of their stuff. So everything they make looks and feels and works really well. For me, the guide, I feel like doesn't offer as much as it could or should. And I really have a hard time with how they've kind of released it because I feel like they're really pushing the most benefits that they're pushing for it are things that are entirely they've chosen to put on the guide by itself that could easily be on the bike or easily be on the app, like the improved UI where you can see the movements ahead of you. Like that's the best thing ever. And I feel like there's no reason that shouldn't be on everybody's screen on strength classes. It's super useful, especially since you can see the stuff before the workouts. Like it makes no sense to me to have that locked behind it. And also like the exclusive content. It doesn't really make sense to me to have exclusive content locked behind something that it doesn't really provide a ton of value to that exclusive content. It's not like there's things that the guide does for that content that somebody without the guide couldn't
Can't do.
do.
Yeah. I definitely agree. I mean, it's pure marketing. It's pure marketing. Can you hear me? Can't hear me?
Sorry, one
can't-
second. It's you. Sorry about
Okay.
this. My
No, it's
everything's
okay.
dead.
Okay.
But let me plug things in. See if I can fix this.
I think people can still hear us though.
Really, really strange. One second. This will take 1 second to get this going.
Okay.
Wait, say something.
Hello.
Okay, I can hear you again. We're good.
Okay. Okay.
Cool.
And I think people at home could hear us too.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
We're good.
Yeah, no, it's just everything on my end just had blown up all at once. It was super strange.
That happens. Technology is frustrating that way. But what I was saying was I feel like with the guide, the content is behind a paywall because it is pure marketing. I don't think there's any other reason to do so, but I think it's super effective. And I think it's smart. It's Peloton knowing who their people are, and a lot of us are type A. A lot of us have FOMO. We can't stand not having the newest, the best. And so I think that's smart to know your audience. And it's only 7 weeks. It's not like you never get it. So I think that if they had made it too much longer, I think that would have frustrated people a lot more than it did.
Yeah, and yeah, I get it, and I understand that they had to do it for a marketing perspective. I just wish that there was more to the guide that they could market instead of stuff that they've just kind of chosen. And because, like, I mean, look, people are paying $44 a month for a membership, and to have that membership then being like, oh, well, you actually don't get this better UI, you don't get these other things because you didn't buy a $300 camera. It just seems a little bit. Maybe it's not the exclusive content to me. I'm just bothered by the UI because the UI, like, literally, that's my favorite part. I don't really like
I love it.
I like the UI for the guide the most, and so I wish everybody could have that because it does really improve. At least for me, like taking the strength classes.
Yeah, it does. It's being able to see how long before your next move. So I totally agree with that. I enjoy that aspect of it as well. I get why they did it. I understand people's frustration, and I don't think it's their strongest product ever, unfortunately.
Yeah, but it can get better, and that's the good thing about a software focused thing is hopefully over time they can improve it. And then another thing I was kind of wishing for that they would announce with the Power Zone stuff, just because I'm a big fan of the Power Zone training. One of my things that I wish they had the most, and I think a lot of people in Power Zone wish, is that there would be a quick display of which Power Zone you should be in at any given time. Because
that would be nice.
As much as I like to listen to Matt talk for an hour and a half, I don't. Sometimes I wish I could just like watch like a show or something else, but kind of peek down, see where I'm supposed to be at, for those longer efforts. And they recently implemented with their new UI changes to like the workouts. All of the Power Zone classes now you can see in the class breakdown exactly which Power Zones at which times. So they have it all there. They have everything broken down, every class analyzed by those different zones. I was really hoping that they would have that in the UI. I'm sure that they will at some point, but that was one thing I was kind of hoping for that didn't get released. But
I would almost guarantee that.
Yeah.
And I would say, and something else about Power Zones people have been excited about for a long time, been asking for, is Power Zones on the tread, to be able to take an FTP test and a run and be able to apply that to different runs. And I still think that'll come at some point. I think that will appear, but probably a ways down the road still.
Yeah, I think with Power Zone training, the biggest issue for them is in terms of population taking Power Zone. It's a smaller group, right? It's a really dedicated group, but it's a smaller group. And so for the treadmill, that's also a much smaller group of people using the tread relative to the bike. And I think Peloton often worries about adding things that are going to have low attendance because they want that social interactivity during. You don't want to be taking a class alone, right?
Yep.
Even though you are alone, but you don't want to, like, it feels weird when you're in there. Like when I got the guide workouts, that's how I knew initially the sales were bad, because I was taking classes on the guide that were guide exclusive, and I was the only person in the class. I was like, that's really weird. So they definitely want to make sure there's enough people. And so maybe that's the slowdown of adding power zone type workouts to the treadmill at this point.
Absolutely.
I'm not sure.
Absolutely.
I also think that's kind of why they don't really provide very many programs for cycling, because if you're taking a program, you're not taking the live new classes, so you're not really engaged in what's new at the moment. And so I think that is a big reason why they are very slow and don't really provide a ton of programs all of the time. I wish they would provide like a program as it was live, like a program that you could follow. Like, hey, we're going to start this 4-week program. It starts this week. It ends this month. You can take the classes live or whenever, and it's only a month long. And afterwards, it turns into a program. I wish they would do something like that.
So
yeah,
it's totally doable, and people love it. They love it. They love to be able to take the classes live. And I totally think you are correct. That is one of the reasons. Tom, my husband Tom, always says, "Hey, they're a content company. Like whatever else they are, they're also a content company, and so they want to push you to the newest stuff." That makes total sense, and I think you're absolutely right. But I do think that there is potential there to be able to have those programs, and I think they would get a lot more. I think they'd get a lot of people doing it. I don't think it'd be an afterthought for people. I think they'd really love it.
No, because I think one of the biggest struggles a lot of people have with Peloton is just guidance, and knowing what should I do? Should I do a 30-minute hills today, or should I be doing recovery rides? I don't know what to do. Like most people don't know what to do, so they just do whatever music they want. But long term, by taking, I think it depends. Like for the biggest thing is, for most people, that they're motivated, they're having fun doing it. That's the number one priority, right? That they're having a good time. And so that's what Peloton focuses on. And I think that's correct. But also long term, you need to make sure that people get results. And so, and don't burn out. And so to have, having a little bit more guidance in terms of what a week could look like for somebody, or more examples of, I think could go a long way into helping ensure that their population of members is educated enough to be able to make good decisions in terms of overall development, so they can see progress that they would like to see. And so outside of when you're just getting started, maybe in the first year or so, you're going to see progress no matter what you do. But long term, I think it would be very helpful, and I think people would like it a lot. But
I know they would. I know they would. And they could do it in a general way, like take a HIIT class one time a week, and take 2 endurance classes, take a regular class that doesn't have any kind of heading, and it's just for fun. Like do that one time a week, and then make sure you're mixing in yoga, and make sure you're mixing in these other things. They could do that in a general way. But part of the problem now is that they don't have classes long enough to support that anymore. Live classes that are new coming out all the time. I mean, there's one 45-minute run a week. There's one 60-minute run a week. I mean, that's not enough to support the different kinds of activities that people would want to do. So if they're going to do something like that, they need to be able to produce the content and not just focus on the 20 and 30-minute classes.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So other things that were announced, one was they're working with a Google Talkback to have a screen reader for the blind or poor sighted, which I know that was a pretty frequently requested thing by a lot of people, which is
and for years.
So that's great. And then in terms of also kind of adding to the inclusiveness, it sounds like they're going to be coming out with new adaptive programming with Logan Aldridge kind of leading in charge. And so again, they're just kind of like, they already have a lot of people who would be interested in that type of programming and classes. So just kind of catering to a wider group is always good, I think. What else? They had they mentioned a lot about, like, a couple of things I just noticed that Barry and others mentioned a lot was one still sticking to that 100 member number, which I thought was interesting.
100 million members.
I thought it was Barry, but maybe it wasn't. I thought it was Barry, but I thought maybe it wasn't Barry. But I remember at some point they were talking about like, yeah, the 100 million number is like not a good number to focus on. That's not like a realistic short, like long. It may be like very long-term number, but I don't know if it's like the best.
I don't know. I don't know who said that, but his take on it was a little different in this video than it was the other day on the earnings call. So that just was a little interesting to me.
Yeah, we'll talk about that earnings call in just a moment too, because I want to hear your thoughts on all of that. And then the other thing I saw them mention a couple times, especially relative to the Delta Airlines, was talking about, Peloton on a non-Peloton platform. And I think that is a direction they are definitely going to be trying to go to making Peloton more of like a Netflix or something that's more accessible on a wide variety of platforms rather than just being in an enclosed platform. Is that kind of something that you were thinking as well, or?
I definitely think they're headed in that direction. And again, that was something that Barry alluded to on the earnings call. So I think that only supports that theory. I think we're going to see that. What makes me a little nervous is I'm fine with Peloton programming on other platforms. What makes me nervous is bringing in other developers to be included on the Peloton platform, making it more open source. That concerns me just because people have always felt like the content is king. And when you start throwing in all these other content makers, I have no idea what you're going to get.
Yeah. And the way I see that, I'm mixed on it. I think it's probably going to be good and bad. It'll definitely be good for Peloton. But in terms of the membership experience, I'm not sure. The way I see it is, because I'm a nerd, I'll play like video games, right? So like on a PlayStation, there's first party exclusive. You pay subscription for PlayStation, right? You can get PlayStation type stuff, but obviously there's third party games on that unit that are on other units as well. But you can buy it, and PlayStation gets a cut when you buy it on PlayStation, and that makes kind of sense that you have it within that ecosystem. And that's how I kind of picture that Peloton is trying to do too, is where, hey, you pay for a subscription, but we also have a store. You can buy these other programs from these other people as well. And people can, you can take those types of classes on the store. I'm not sure if that's what it sounds like that's kind of what they're going for.
It's something that's, picking and choosing. I could see that being more valuable. It concerns me long-term what that does for the stars, which are the instructors. Like, what does that do to their viability? What does that do to their kind of star power? And does that kind of lead them down the path where they're not feeling as exclusive anymore?
Yeah, no, I'm not sure what it'll be like for them. I'm sure there's a lot changing for them over the past year.
Absolutely.
So
yeah.
I'm one of the interesting thing too is like, Peloton, for how, not great of a year they've had, they still surprisingly, do so well with how well they retain their coaches.
Absolutely.
Which I think speaks a lot to kind of how they work with them, and especially given the talent that they bring. That's also probably another big thing that Peloton is unique about, is how good they are at talent scouting, because they don't bring in typically like famous people already that to their programs. They typically bring in just people that they find.
They definitely have shifted more towards people that have a following now, like the newer instructors, but certainly not like they're already stars, but they are well known in that fitness industry. And they do an excellent job of vetting them and training them and making sure that they have 6 good months of like teaching them all of the Peloton speak before they go live and making sure they're comfortable with that. I cannot not fault them for their talent. They do an amazing job with that. Absolutely.
Yeah, and just being able to retain them, because I would imagine that part of their pay has to do with the stock. And I can't imagine, obviously what they're making, some of them were making 2 years ago is going to be different than now. But yet people are still sticking with them. So I think that speaks a lot to how Peloton, treats their coaches and what's going on there. They also mentioned, as was already kind of known, that they're reopening the studio this summer. And I know there's a lot of people excited about that. I'm curious to see how that's implemented. Personally, I hope it's like partially implemented, as as somebody who came into Peloton while there were nobody in the studio. I feel like I prefer the classes when there's nobody else in there.
Yeah, there is a definite dividing line between people who joined in the last year versus people who joined many years ago of what the preference is there. So it will be I will be very curious to see, are there classes that do without, are there classes that do with? And then also, how is that going to work for people who travel to New York solely to go to classes? I mean, that has always been a thing in the community. And I think it's going to be a lot more difficult to get in the studio now than it used to be. So I'm very curious to see how that plays out as well.
Yeah, definitely. And a lot more expensive. I think if there's a high demand and Peloton needs cash, they're definitely going to be charging a lot more to attend their classes, which they should. They're not going to bring in like hundreds of people in there. It's only going to be it's typically what, like a group of like 20 or something, or
I think at the new studio they reduced the amount of bikes, and I think it was around 50. And so
Okay.
at the old studio it was a little bit bigger, and they actually reduced the amount of bikes going into the new studio. No one's ever had full classes in the new studio because it closed
Okay.
before it ever opened to the public.
Interesting. So that was pretty much all that I got from that keynote. Again, besides Barry, I know you had mentioned, I think I saw it in maybe your Instagram, where you mentioned like Barry needs some work talking, like a talking coach on the stock call. But yeah, I read the stock call, but I didn't listen to it. And but yeah, he's not going to be the most energetic
And it's not just energetic. It's like it's almost like he's bored to be there. And I know he's not. Like I don't think that that's how he intends to come across, but it's also the words he chooses. And it's one of those things that I know people were frustrated that this morning was very scripted, but I think it needed to be very scripted, especially for Barry, because when he says things like, "Oh, well, there's a lot more talent in this building than I expected," and he didn't say that once on the earnings call. He said it twice to two different questions, and I feel like so disrespectful to the people that are there and who've been there since the beginning. I mean, it's just ouch. It just, that's not something I would expect from strong, vibrant leadership.
Yeah, and not to make it too much like a bash on Barry type of deal, but when he came on, it was a big talk. Like he tried to make a big show of like, "Oh, I'm not here to sell Peloton. I'm here to grow it. I'm moving my family over. I wouldn't do that if I wasn't going to be here for a long time. We're not going to change the rates. We're not going to be changing the membership rates." But like, there's a lot of things he said that like, it was very obvious. To me, it's like, dude, the guy's like almost 70 years old. He's retired. He's coming out here he's like at the end of the baseball game. He's coming in as a closer, and he's trying to bring his experience from all the companies he's worked with to help bring Peloton into a better position to be ran by somebody else that's not Barry. And I don't think he's going to be here for much longer. I think he'll be here for maybe a year at most. And again, he doesn't like, you can just tell from his demeanor, from what's going on. It doesn't seem like he's going to be the guy to kind of lead Peloton moving forward into a really good place of where they need to be. But I think he's trying to get things ready to get prepped for them to be, hopefully most likely purchased by a company that can give Peloton like what they need to be able to deliver exactly what they want. And so
That'll be a crazy day. Yeah.
I think it'll well, given their stock, it could happen, any week. And so let's talk about that a little bit now too, because you listen to the stock market call. And obviously, so Peloton's stock has gone from close to 170 to now it went as low as $11. Now it's a little higher. I'm sure after this call, it's a little higher just because people get excited when there's new things announced. But what are your thoughts on the call and what happened with Peloton's earnings this
It was just very different than any other earnings call they've done. Typically they kind of have a very slick packaging of here's our earnings, here's all the things that we've done in the past quarter, and they kind of go through that. Then when we get on the call, they kind of talk through the earnings letter that comes out. And this time it was, this is what I mean about the demeanor, and this is what I mean about somebody needs to kind of help him, because it was very cold. He started the call by saying, William Lynch is, he has resigned effective immediately, and we're not going to talk about anything in the letter. So what do you want to know? And like, that was it. And we just went straight into questions. And it really surprised me, because I don't expect him to be the same as anybody else has been. He's his own person. But I've never heard an earnings call sound that cold ever. Like, they usually have some passion behind their words. And he just, it didn't come across that way. It was just very different than what we have seen before. So that struck me. And then they talked, because they didn't go through the letter, there were no questions about some of the things I would have liked to have known. Like, well, you just like changed all of these things. What about this big revolving credit that you guys just took? What about the debt? Like, can we talk about that? Can we talk about the fact that you're changing all of these other things? And he didn't talk about any of that. We just went straight into whatever anybody brought up. And so it was unique and not what I expected.
Yeah, it sounds really strange, because I mean, typically these calls this CEO, whoever is leading them, is a salesperson. Is trying to sell everybody on whether it's good or bad, that of what's going to be happening going forward. And it doesn't sound like it was really that so much. Just kind of like, hey, let's just get through this. We know it's not great.
Yeah. And one of the last questions, I think it was the last question, was like, what has surprised you about working at Peloton? And that was the second time he brought up that the talent was better than he expected. And he alluded to some things without saying them. And he was very clear, like, he didn't want to signal anything, but he also was signaling at the same time by saying things about the retail stores. I kind of got the impression that, maybe because they're going to be working with distributors in the future. He talked about other retail partners. I don't know if he meant by retail partners to distribute, if he meant to have space in their stores. He was not clear about that. But apparently things are happening. I hope that does not end up cheapening the brand, but that was a very big surprise. And it makes you wonder the future of the current retail stores.
Yeah, I'm not sure how many retail stores they have. It seems like they have a good
60.
amount. Yeah.
It's 60 plus at this point, I think.
Yeah, and when you're not moving a ton, especially during the summer, I don't know. It sounds like they have been talking a lot about new distributors. And I don't know exactly what that means. Like you said, if it means more retail stores, or it means them selling Peloton bikes on Amazon and having them work. I'm not sure what that means exactly for them. But yeah, it doesn't look necessarily good for the retail stores unless that rental program turns out to be a big hit.
That's
in which
true.
case the stores could be more viable as a means of people renting and returning and all of that, because you do need to have some sort of storefront in order to do that, I would imagine. Or maybe not. Maybe there's just a warehouse that you just call into and they pick it up.
I don't know, because right now they would just come and pick up your bike if they were going to do that, and it would just be the logistics company. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, it'll be interesting to see what they do with it. And I know Pelotons they've avoided having that distribution in the past in retail. I think largely the same reason why they don't like having their bikes and stuff in gyms, because they want their stuff taken care of and looking nice and having that, certain image associated with it. Like I went into a Best Buy the other day. I had a Hydro and a Tempo, and that Hydro is beat up. Like,
I bet.
One, it was gross. Like, I wouldn't have touched it, but it was not looking good. So obviously it depends on the location and who's taking care of these things. And so that's probably their biggest concern, is that this isn't going to have the image that we would like it to. On the other hand, Peloton has an image problem they're trying to solve, of being a luxury item at the same time. So it's always kind of interesting to me that they don't want to be seen as a luxury item, but all of their marketing And all the decisions they made in the past have been to reinforce the idea that their equipment is a luxury item. And now they're trying to, I think, get a wider audience and, reprice their stuff so that it's more comparative to others and so that it's not seen so. But it's a hard line to go back on, I think. And I think they're struggling to figure out how to, like you said, maybe not cheapen the brand, but at the same time, you can't be seen as something only for, people who can afford a luxury.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I was actually talking to somebody totally unrelated not that long ago, and they didn't know anything about Peloton except that they couldn't have one. Like in their mind, it was like, oh, I'm a young mom. I can't. There's no way I could afford it. And I was explaining to them, oh, they do so much more than just the bike. I mean, first of all, they have a perception problem that Peloton and bike are synonymous. There's so many people that don't know about the tread. There's so many people that don't know about the strength training that they do, or that you could have the app and only do workouts with your own equipment. You don't have to use theirs. And there's a lot of people still that don't know that because, as to your point, it's a luxury brand. You can't afford it.
Yeah, and that's where I think it's going to be interesting. Now, one thing they mentioned on the call, and I have seen they have a new marketing campaign that I think was released yesterday.
Oh, it's amazing. I love this one.
And so it seems like one of the things, and I don't know if I don't necessarily agree with it as a strategy, but it'll be interesting, is they want to, right now, I think they sell predominantly to women. That's like the vast majority of their purchasers. I think it was like 70 or 80, maybe 80%. And they want that number to be closer to 50-50. And so they want to change the marketing to allow for that. And so the new ads definitely show a lot more guys and more sports kind of focus. They're like hyping up a football team and doing different stuff.
That's interesting. I didn't take it as marketing more towards men. That's interesting. And then I guess
or it was in the letter. It was in the share letter where they said they wanted the men to be 50%. And I'm curious if it'll work out. For me, just as somebody who's been in fitness for a long time and done marketing for like fitness studios and stuff, like generally I've always found it like guys are really hard to market group classes to.
Yeah.
Guys generally will do a group. They like group classes, but usually it's easier to market towards women. The women bring their husbands into a class or whatever, and then they end up liking it and they stay around. And that's how I feel like about Peloton. It feels like kind of a similar, it's like a group class kind of in that model. I don't know if you're going to ever get to 50% for the guys. It's hard to market, and I don't know why.
I don't think so.
It's hard.
I don't think so, simply because their strength. I think it's men that want more strength training in general, and they have a predisposed notion of what strength should look like, and free weights with somebody else leading them through it isn't it. And I don't even mean that that's a bad thing. I just think that people they just have what it looks like in their head, and Peloton isn't going to be that for a lot of people.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it will, but I don't know if they'll be the ones to make that decision. I think
you think their wives are going to convince them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's way more guys on the platform than there are guys buying the Peloton. I think just the decision, even if the decision they kind of want a Peloton, they're going to buy it for their wives, and even though they secretly want it for themselves, I just don't think. Like studio cycling in general just has always been a much more woman dominant thing. Just because of whatever, like, I'm not really sure why, but that's just the way it is. And so I'm curious about how they think that'll help them market to a wider audience. But maybe it will. I'm not sure. It'll be interesting for them. And they also seem, I was going to get your thoughts on, finally, before we go, too, about Lanebreak, too, because that was the one other thing I wanted to talk to you about. Because they're mentioning Lanebreak, and in the report, they mentioned that, like, hey, Lanebreak is doing really well. We want to expand further into this gamification. And so that was kind of interesting, mostly because it feels like it's really weird to me how they're treating Lanebreak.
Why?
It's a very distinctly different thing on the app, so it's not very visible. They even added shockingly to me, because with the scenic rides and stuff like that, they almost never add new stuff to it. But for the Lanebreak, they've been adding a ton of new classes each and every week.
Yeah, it's like 3 every week at least.
Yeah, at least. And then in terms of announcing that or telling people about that, they have not done that at all. Like most people, I would imagine, think that there has been no Lanebreak. You can't tell that there's new classes released unless you know like what the ones were.
It's
so it's really
interesting.
weird.
DJ John Michael posts it every week. He posts the new ones, and that's what made me start going and looking. And so sometimes Peloton puts it in their stories, but they have not been consistent about that on Instagram. They certainly have not been pushing it. For example, the way that they push their podcast, or the way that they pushed that show on the leaderboard. So I definitely agree with you. It is interesting that they don't push it that much, but it is definitely gaining steam, and I love it. I love Lanebreak. It is so much fun.
Yeah, no, I just figured like on the main app, like when you're taking a class, like when you join the home screen, if there's new, like maybe have like a spot that shows the new ones of the week or something to show you.
That would be fabulous.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see what they do with it. Personally for me, I like the idea of Lanebreak. I thought it was fun. The only problem I have with Lanebreak for the most part is when you like gamify a workout, I always like to see that workout. If I looked at the data from the workout afterwards, it should look like a class or like a training, like it would, like with the graphs of how hard you go. If it's it should look like a good training class, like you would typically see. My problem with Lanebreak is that it doesn't look like that. It looks like it's like very spiky. It's a lot of those whatever those things are called, where you go really fast.
I don't know what they're called, but I know what you're talking
Pretty
about.
much like spin ups, just like spin ups.
Yes.
Yeah.
I feel like I treat them as like HIIT classes. You know?
Yeah.
And so to me, it's like they are, but then I will I kind of challenge myself when I take them to like get 100% and go as hard as, like, I'll go in the hardest lane and the hardest choices the whole time, whatever I choose, and see if I can sustain that the whole time. And then I end up feeling like I had a HIIT class, and I can tell that I worked really hard because of my average output compared to what I would have done in a regular 30-minute class. But I think that that's a fair point. Your graph does not look like you would expect it to look after a bike class.
Yeah, and I'm not saying they're not like hard and good workouts, because they are obviously very hard, depending on if you push yourself on them. I wish there was maybe more variety in terms of like how the class is designed on those, so that some at least looked like at the end of the day, like if I was going to take a Power Zone class or a Hills class, or if I took a Power Zone or Hills Lanebreak class, it would kind of look similar in terms of like what I was actually doing to my body.
No, I think that's a fair point. I mean, if you look at it besides something as entertainment, or in my case, a HIIT class, like, yeah, I could totally see your point. Like, you want to see something that's a rolling hills, or you want to see something that's showing that you're gaining strength from this, or you're getting power. You've worked the kind of that power zone. That would be nice to be able to see, and you can't yet. I can't help but wonder if they will add more design types into it. I know DJ John Michael has said that they're going to be adding more to it, because somebody was asking on his Instagram page about being able to search for classes. Like right now, it just shows up as one big page of all of the different classes. You can't even filter by time. And so he was saying that that's probably coming, which I took to mean it's coming. So who knows what else is coming, you know?
Yeah, no, it seemed like from what they were talking about that it will be expanded upon, and that there will be new things coming to it. But it'll be interesting. And yeah, I'm excited to see what they have in store. I'm excited about the rower, of course.
Right.
And we'll just
Are you going to order one?
Well, I have to. Yeah, I mean, I like just to I have seven. So I just moved this weekend to a new house, and I moved 7 rowers here. So obviously a Peloton rower I'm gonna have to get, be able to test it out. And I like rowing's actually probably my very close. I mean, they're all, I like running too, and I like biking, but there's something about I've been rowing for like 14 years. So like there's something about rowing that I just like more, but it's definitely different. It'll be really interesting to see how it's done. I'm so curious about it because it's so different than the running or the biking. The sessions are generally much, much shorter
Right.
for people. So it'll be, I don't know. I'm really curious to see how they will do it and how they're going to differentiate themselves from, like, let's say Hydro, for example, who just focus entirely on rowing, like how much of a different experience it'll be on the machine itself. I mean, obviously the content will be much different. The content's
Sure.
going to be Peloton content, and I think we all know what that will look like. But
Like,
just to see how it works within the machine and what makes it unique.
yeah, I'm
Really,
excited
really
to see the
curious.
differentiators for sure. Yeah. And I mean, everything I've heard is that there's going to be real water classes too. So I'm curious if that's true.
Yeah, but like maybe like how they have real bike classes, like outdoors, maybe like a
Exactly.
few, maybe like a
Exactly.
few, maybe like a
Right.
few.
Right.
Although I will say that maybe you're right, because I will say that one of the things, well, you would think there would be more running outside classes then too. I was gonna say one of the things, I think the reasons they don't do a lot of scenic rides for biking is because the bike is stationary. You don't really get the feeling like you're going up a hill as
Yeah, you
much
don't.
on the Peloton bike as maybe like a treadmill. It has that incline, so you can, simulate what you're seeing on the screen.
That's
And with
true.
rowing, there's no real inclines or declines, so you don't need to do any of that. So
Yep.
it would make sense as well. But no, I'm curious to see what they do, and I think a lot of people are. But anyway, thanks again, Crystal, for jumping in here with me and
Sure.
watching
Thanks for the
their
invite.
keynote. Yeah, of course. Awesome. And for anybody who is watching, thanks again. Make sure to check out Connect the Watts on YouTube for our live shows each and every week, or you can find us on a podcast on Spotify or Apple or other podcast services. You can definitely find Crystal on her podcast. Can you tell us where to find you?
Yeah, absolutely. The Clip Out, you can find that anywhere you can get a podcast. And you can also find all of our episodes at theclipout.com.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, and have a great rest of the day, everybody.